All right, let's dive right into this start to finish explainer on how to completely conquer an exterior house painting project and, actually make your investment last. Because let's face it, painting the outside of your home, it's not just about picking out a pretty color. It's an absolutely critical maintenance task that protects your biggest asset from the elements. So, whether your current paint is chipping, maybe it's fading, or you honestly just want a massive boost in curb appeal, we are going to walk through the exact steps to get you a flawless, professional grade finish. Now, the very first question you're probably asking yourself is, should I tackle this massive project myself, or should I just hire the pros? It is the ultimate homeowner dilemma, right? You're trying to balance your budget against your free time and, well, let's be totally honest here, your tolerance for climbing up on high ladders. And the stakes are pretty high here. Just to put it into perspective, the 2026 national average for a complete professional paint job is running somewhere between $3,800 and $9,200 for a typical 2,000 to 2,500 square foot home. That's a huge chunk of change. And this price has really climbed recently. We're talking inflation on materials like acrylic resin, tighter labor markets, and those stricter environmental compliance costs. Honestly, staring at a quote like that, rolling up your own sleeves starts to sound pretty tempting, doesn't it? So here is your start to finish blueprint for painting your house exterior. We've organized this into 4 crucial phases to guarantee that perfect finish. Number 1, budgeting, pro versus DIY. Number 2, choosing the right paint. Number 3, the crucial prep work. And number 4, application and weather rules. Let's get into it. Starting off with phase 1, budgeting, pro versus DIY. Let's see how the real math breaks down between doing it yourself and hiring a crew. Okay, so while going the DIY route will absolutely save you thousands up front, you are trading that money for up to 120 hours of grueling labor, not to mention some pretty serious risks. Yes, buying the paint, primer, and supplies yourself might only run you $1,000 to $2,000. That effectively saves you, 60 to 75% on that line item alone. But let's consider the reality for a second. For an experienced DIYer, you're looking at 3 to 6 straight weekends of exhausting work. And the hidden costs, they are steep. The CDC actually reports roughly 500,000 ladder injuries a year. Yikes. Plus, first-time painters almost always overbuy, usually grabbing 20 to 30% more paint than they actually need. But here is the most devastating part. If you fail to prep correctly, your brand new paint might literally peel off in a year and a half, putting you right back at square one. Moving right along to phase 2, choosing the right paint. Once your budget is locked in, regardless of who's actually holding the brush, you've got to decode the paint aisle. Why? Because your home's siding dictates exactly what you should be buying. There is a really stark contrast in materials here. You absolutely need a breathable acrylic latex for wood or fibrous cement, but you definitely want a waterproof elastomeric paint for porous stucco or concrete. Here's the deal. Acrylic latex is vapor permeable. Basically, it breathes, and that prevents moisture from getting trapped inside the walls and causing your paint to blister up. On the flip side, elastomeric is this heavy-duty, almost rubber-like coating that goes on super thick to bridge those annoying hairline cracks in masonry. Using the wrong one is, quite frankly, a total disaster. If you slap elastomeric on wood, it traps moisture and causes severe rot. But put standard acrylic on cracked stucco, and water is going to seep right in. Not what we want. Now, beyond just the type of paint, you've got quality tiers. And my advice? Spend the extra $300 or so on premium paint. Just do it. Because mathematically speaking, a $120 gallon that lasts 15 years is way, way cheaper than having to repaint every 6 years with the cheaper builder-grade stuff. Premium paints use these really high-quality ceramic or highly UV-resistant pigments that actively fight off fading and blistering. The difference between a cheap gallon and a premium gallon isn't really obvious the day it dries, but oh man, it becomes glaringly obvious 3 years later when that cheap paint starts chalking and washing out under the harsh sun. All right, phase 3, the crucial prep work. Let's dive right into the golden rule of this entire project. Prep work is literally what separates a 5-year paint job from a 15-year one. You can't just slap wet paint onto a dirty house and hope for the best. Please, whatever you do, never skip the wash, scrape, caulk, and prime cycle. If you do, your brand new paint is going to start peeling within 18 months just because it's trying to bond to a loose substrate. So first things first, power wash at 1500 to 2500 psi. You want to blast away all that dirt, mold, and chalking paint. Then let it dry totally for a day or 2. After that, you have to scrape and sand any loose, flaking paint right down to a smooth, sound edge. Next up, caulk those gaps to seal out the water.
And finally, you've got to spot prime the bare wood or masonry so your shiny new top coat actually has something solid to grip onto.
But hold on a second. Before you start going crazy scraping away, listen carefully. If your home was built before 1978, stop right there. Disturbing old lead paint is a massive health hazard that legally requires certified professionals. Scraping and dry sanding old lead paint releases this highly toxic dust right into the air and the soil around your home. That lead dust easily gets into the human system, and it is especially dangerous to kids and pets, so do not mess around with this.
Because of these serious hazards, older homes just cost significantly more to paint. Lead abatement requires heavy-duty containment and specialized disposal to actually keep you safe. We're talking EPA regulations that require plastic sheeting to extend at least 10 feet out from the work area. They use special chemical strippers or low-temperature heat guns and high-efficiency HEPA vacuums to capture every speck of dust. This rigorous safety protocol can easily add over $1,000 to your project, but it is an absolute non-negotiable necessity for your health and, of course, legal compliance. And that brings us to phase 4, application and weather rules. Now let's finally get into the actual tactical execution of putting paint on the house. Here is the thing, you really must be a meteorologist before you're a painter. If you decide to paint in high humidity or right before a massive rainstorm, your fresh paint is going to bubble and blister. It's a nightmare. Every single paint has a specific temperature range, usually between 35 and 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but you also have to monitor the surface temperature itself. For example, a dark wall absorbing direct sunlight can easily exceed the paint's limits, causing it to dry way too fast and wrinkle up. The surface must be at least 5 degrees above the dew point. And for masonry, it needs to be completely dry, with under 15% moisture content. So, timing your painting windows to avoid extreme heat, direct sun, and morning dew, it's absolutely critical. Okay, so when you finally crack open that paint can, you want to knock out the trim, shutters, and doors first. Why do it that way? Well, because it totally prevents accidental drips onto your large, freshly painted wall surfaces later on. Then tackle the walls from the top down to catch any runs. If you're using a roller, apply the paint in a 3 by 3 foot W pattern. You just fill in the open areas using horizontal strokes, and that maintains a flawless wet edge. And hey, here's a little pro secret that saves a ton of frustration. Remove your painter's tape while the paint is still wet or tacky. If you wait until it's fully dry, man, that cape might just pull off chunks of your brand new finish right along with it. So to wrap all of this up, executing a premium 2-color exterior paint job properly, it doesn't just look incredible. It actually boosts your home's appraisal value right back into your pocket. Data from Zillow consistently shows that a really well-done 2-color scheme, painting the body one color and the trim another, increases appraisal value by 2 to 5%. To put that into perspective, that is thousands of dollars. So not only are you protecting the structural integrity of your home from wind, rain, and UV damage, you're actively increasing its market worth. Considering the serious cash and the decade of protection on the line here, are you ready to plan out your perfect paint job? Or are you going to let fading walls dictate your home's curb appeal?